What's good, world? MIAB. I'm back with another reactions video. Look, I'm gonna start trying to put videos up a lot more. I'm gonna start doing them by the days now. If you're new here, get your subscribing, like, comment, get your recommendations in the comments. You know, let me know what I should do. Today I'm gonna be doing the Umbrella. Look at that, I can't even speak. The Umbrella Academy season 3. I'm gonna do a whole explanation of it. Well, not me, but I'm gonna be reacting to it. Plus, I already seen the whole season. So if you haven't seen the season yet, make sure you go check the season out and then come back and watch this. And if you're new here, you already know I'm getting straight into the spoilers.
Season 3 ends with a big cliffhanger that... Okay, so Umbrella Academy Season 3 ends with a big cliffhanger that seems like it's ripped right out of the ending of Fight Club. Even the final shots are set up in the same way, and if you're here, it probably means you have no idea what's going on. Well, you're in luck, you chump, as throughout this video we're going to be going over the biggest WTF questions to give you some clarity on what exactly is happening in the show.
Spoiler alert.
Yes, that is too good not to use again, and if you like the video then please hit the thumbs up button, and also don't forget to subscribe for break. Okay, so the first big question I think we need to talk about is who is Sir Reginald Hargreaves? Well, in the series we have had hints towards his backstory, and Season 1's final episode opened with him at his wife Abigail's side as she lay in her deathbed. Season 2 showed us that he's in fact an alien, and this opening scene in 10 was actually his home planet. He said farewell to Abigail and took with him not only a jar of orbs that he opened up, but also a white violin that he later gifted to Victor. Now in the comics we get some of what happens after this fleshed out when we read more about the character. We discover that his home planet was dying along with his wife, and that he set out amongst the cosmos in his private vessel the Minerva. This was with his private bodyguard Abijad, who doesn't feature in the show, and instead a lot of his role is shifted over to Pogo. On Earth, Hargreaves invested in several businesses, he became a Nobel Prize winner, and also an Olympic gold medalist. In Season 2, when the family travel back in time, we discover that he teamed up with the Majestic 12, a group of Illuminati-esque people who had some basis in the real world.
The Illumawati?
For decades now there's been conspiracy theories surrounding the mysterious members that make it up, and they're meant to be a number of high-ranking scientists, military leaders, and government officials. According to the rumours, they control world events, and also hide the existence of UFOs. The group was apparently formed all the way back in 1947 under the orders of President Truman. After recovering an alien spacecraft, they began to cover up the truth from humanity. They and Hargreaves worked together for a long time, and he helped them in several technological advances, which is when he became so involved in the space race. We discover in Season 2 that he's attempting to reach the dark side of the moon, which we learn the reason for in Season 3. Turns out that Abigail is there, and I believe that his ship crash landed on Earth after dropping her there, which is why he was desperate to get back. She may have been shot out in an escape pod-esque station, which we see Luther was put in charge of guarding. Now Hargreaves ended up severing ties with the group, after he discovered that they were complicit in the assassination of JFK. After that, he went into somewhat obscurity, formed the Academy, and enacted the next part of his plan. Now I believe that the hotel itself might actually be his downed ship. When the environment transforms around it, it seems like some kind of vessel with a cockpit inside of it. I think that Hargreaves' plan was to reset the universe, and he wished to unleash the orbs, let them get absorbed into women in order to create life, take these children, nurture them until they matured, and then use them as a way to power up the machine. This would then allow for the universe to restart so that he could be with Abigail. This explains why he...
That makes perfect sense, because that's why the ending is him and Abigail at the end, and then it's going to explain why number 1 was technically guarding her in the moon, and he doesn't even know that yet. Ooh,
he got involved with the space race, tried to get to the dark side of the moon, and also trained the Academy. However, it might also be possible that you can just sacrifice lives in order to start it up, but adding the orbs into it explains why the 7 members at the end don't need to die in order for it to be charged. I think that the vessel carried its own defense mechanisms in the Guardians, and that this stopped him from accessing the ship, which is why he sent in the soldiers. He put forth a number of them, but all of them were wiped out, and thus he decided to train the Umbrella and Sparrow Academy so that they'd be strong enough to take them on. In the training session we see they're literally fighting over a bell on the floor, which foreshadows the 7 bells that he talks about them having to ring. We also learned that there were 43 women who ended up giving birth to the children with special abilities, and that he tried to adopt all of them. However, he only managed to get 7, making me think that he wanted backups just in case the others either left or died. Now he originally tried this with the Umbrella Academy, but due to Ben passing away and number 5 disappearing, they slowly started to fracture and eventually the group split. Thus he ended up taking his own life in order to bring them back together for his funeral. My guess is that he had put the pieces in place so that they discovered the hotel, and then they themselves would end up powering the machine up with the universe being reset through that. This would then bring him back to life, and then he could carry out his own plan. However, things went awry, and after the apocalypse happened, they had to travel back in time. This eventually led to them meeting Hargreaves, and after he realized that they weren't the kind of students he could train, he started to track down others. This was basically his endgame, and Hargreaves is really...
Because yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, that's basically how season 3 starts. Is because they went back in time, they told him all this stuff. He literally goes and adopts another 7 out of all the 40-something kids that were born instead of those ones. Like a dick.
The villain of the show, with his ultimate goal being to reset the universe so that he can be with his wife. Judging by the final scene, it seems like they rule over the entire world, and that the pair have their fingers in every form of industry. With her at his side, he's likely changed the face of the planet, and will probably be the big bad come the next season. Now his plan to restart the universe would have happened either way, with or without the apocalypse. We discover that Project Oblivion is something that he wanted to carry out for a long time, and that it's the reason Pogo ended up leaving his employment. This was a suicide mission, and discovering this is also why the Sparrows decided to medicate him, so that he couldn't manipulate them into doing it. Klaus stopping him from taking his pills allowed the character to get back into his proper frame of mind, and he ended up manipulating him for most of the season. He apparently became a good father, and this made Claus try and win him favour with the family once more. Hargreaves then planted the idea on their heads about resetting the universe, and he killed Luther to unite the group. This was his plan all along, and it didn't really matter if there was a Kugelblitz or not. Now that kinda leads us into my next question, which is, why was the Kugelblitz created? Well, this ties into Harlan killing the mothers of the Umbrella Academy. After he ended up getting his own special abilities, he said he felt them upon his mother's death. However, he couldn't control his powers, and thus he killed all their mothers instead. This meant that they were never born, and thus if they were never born, then they could never have created the new timeline by travelling back in time and then travelling back to the future to be part of it, because it's a lot of timey-wimey wibbly-wobbly stuff. Now, though we don't know exactly how Pogo goes out, he was killed along with the reality, as were all the other characters that don't make it through the portal. Normally the Commission would have kept things in check, but as we know, they were wiped out too. Now we actually discovered that 5 ended up creating the Commission, which again is a bit of a head f***. 5 states that he doesn't remember doing this, and therefore it could be his future self rather than being a variant. I think that it has to be a version of him from later down the line, as he tells him to not stop the apocalypse, and he also says Oblivion, which is of course hinting towards the hotel. Just in case you don't know, that's the true name of the hotel, and this was revealed in the aptly titled 3rd volume, Hotel Oblivion. Now the other questions you probably have over the ending are, how did Luther come back to life? Though he would have returned in the reset, he showed back up at the hotel along with Klaus. I believe that this is the next evolution in Klaus's powers, and just in the same way that he can return to the land of the living, I believe those trapped on the other side can be brought back too. Early on the season was very much about him mastering his abilities, and this is likely the next step. Now I'm reading your mind, mate.
Yeah, he figured out how to bring himself back to life, so he basically is immortal now.
I'm doing the Professor X out here.
And he can bring people back from the dead, but I think he's still learning.
And not only do you want to subscribe, but you also don't want to ever unsubscribe either. On top of that, you're wondering if Sloan exists in this reality. The answer is a mystery, but I'm leaning towards yes, due to everyone being returned and all their wounds being healed. However,
that's all I'm going to do for this video. I hope this explains season 3 for you a little bit. Look, if it's your first time tuning in, like, comment, subscribe, recommendations for the next video. If I talk too fast, you're going to have to get it either way. Check y'all out. Tune in for the next one.